mobility overhaul, and we're working on the deadlift hip hinge range of movement, and it looks like this, okay? If you're struggling to push your hips back, keep a neutral spine and touch the ground while keeping this spine nice and neutral and tight. If you struggle to get down there and you look a bit like me, okay, we need to work on the muscle groups that are limiting that range of movement. It's a very important range of movement, especially if you're throwing yourself into the likes of kettlebell swings, heavy deadlifts. If you're unable to achieve a nice tight position, keeping that spine nice and neutral and locked, you're going to end up looking a little bit like this, or if you're kettlebell swinging, very hunched over, all those vertebrae are open up, and you're going to open up a high risk chance of you hurting yourself. So this morning we're going to work on those muscle groups. So without further ado, I want you to get your foam roller, put it behind your knee, okay, and then just go up a wee bit. We're going to be working on the hamstrings, okay? Now we're going to be working on the hamstrings on the floor to begin with this morning, okay? Because we're going to attack it from multiple angles, because I want you to get an idea of what work needs to be done and which one or which variation is better for you, okay? So we're on the floor. Now remember, before we get ahead of ourselves, muscle tissue, all we're trying to do is crush it, grind it, smash it, and restore that suppleness and range of movement to it, okay? So we're on the hunt for any problem areas, any areas of high pain. So straight away, I want you to push down into that foam roller. You can see I'm starting to bridge myself up so that I can get weight down onto it. And by all means, at any point you feel you just need a wee bit more weight, get that other leg on top. So all I'm going to do is go side to side, and we're going to start off this morning's class just smashing out these hamstrings, okay? We're going to be spending quality time. So side to side, right, okay, I found a little niggle. It feels pretty horrible, shall we say. So what I'm trying to do now is find ground zero. Find the worst part, what feels like the source of where that area of high pain is. And now I'm going to start pushing it and pinning it down hard into the foam roller. We're trying to keep that muscle tissue relaxed here, everybody. No point pushing down into that foam roller if the muscle tissue is not relaxed. So try to focus on your breathing. Try not to screw your face up, okay? Side to side until you find an area of high pain. Pushing down into it, and then we can start the whole scrubbing technique of just rocking side to side, rocking up and down, and just trying to imagine that's someone's elbow in that area, okay? And while we're doing this, I want you just to simply, if you find an area of high pain, spend a good quality time on it, trying to crush it, trying to grind it, try to contract, relax, okay? In this position here, we can't really bend the knee too much, but what you can do is lock it out, push it down. If that can help just grind things up a little bit, it might. But ultimately, with our legs straight, it's a simple matter of trying to get as much pressure on there and scrubbing it as hard as you can, okay? Now we really need to smash. The best word to describe this is smash, because we really need to be getting stuck in here. Hamstrings, they're like steel cables on a suspension bridge, okay? We're talking very thick, very dense, very powerful muscles, okay? If you're just lying on here with minimal force, you're not going to do anything other than make it feel nice. You need to get stuck in here, okay? In order for us to restore the full function of these hamstrings, increase the range of movement, increase our flexibility, get rid of any knotted areas, you need to really go for it here. It's not enough. It is not enough to just sit and kind of chill. You've got to push weight down into it. You've got to go for it. It's not meant to be pleasant. Now we're doing it with a straight leg on the floor, working with a foam roller here to try and increase the surface area that we can smash at the time. The second variation we're going to do will be with the ball, which will allow us to get much deeper in, okay? But by using the foam roller, we can smash a bigger surface area, not as effectively as we can with the ball, but we can target the hamstrings a lot more, and we can get to know them, okay? So by doing this, it's giving you an idea, right? There's a problem area there. I'm going to smash it as best I can. When I get to use this ball soon in a couple of minutes, that's the area I'm going to focus on. So I'm working all the way from my knee joint. You can see I'm about halfway up now, to the bottom of your butt cheek, okay? So the bottom of the glutes. And how wide do you go? You go as wide as you can, okay? Go as wide as you can on these side to sides. Not all the way around where you're rotating into the groin, okay? We don't want that. We want to stay on the hamstrings. But we're going for it, okay? We're really going for it. As you get further up the leg, closer to the glutes, that's when you'll realize that maybe the foam roller isn't the most effective thing, because you'll start to feel just how dense and thick these hamstrings are as we get higher up, okay? But we can still get some work done with the foam roller. We can still be effective with it. But like I say, it's quite difficult to get really in the depths of the foam roller, really in the depths of the muscle tissue, should I say, when all we've got is just to sit on it. We'll have another 30 seconds, everybody. So really go for it. Get to know the problem areas. Try to smash the problem areas. But before time's up, before we move on, I want you to have managed to get all the way up to the bottom of your butt cheek, okay? I want you to work that full range. And then when we get the ball out in a minute, that's when we're going to start targeting the specific areas. So make a mental note right now, a very quick mental note of where the high areas of pain are, where your little knotted areas are, if any. Okay, I'm not saying there will be, but I'm pretty confident if you go on the hunt, you're going to find some areas that when you push into the foam roller feel pretty nasty. And you think, yep, that needs a bit of work, okay? So we've done that, we've spent quality time on it, still managed to get a bit of work done on the hamstrings. Now I'm going to put my foam roller to one side, I'm going to get the ball out, and this is where I'm going to tell you now to get a chair. But chair or coffee table, a coffee table would work even better, but of course not everybody wants to sit on their furniture at home. Make sure whatever you're using, we're about to sit on, is firm. Okay, it doesn't work if you've got a big soft chair, because what we're going to be doing here is sitting on the ball. Okay, we need to be sitting the hamstrings into the ball, and if you've got a soft cushion chair, that's just going to sink in, isn't it? Okay, so you're looking for something solid. I say a coffee table because it's nearby, or a hard chair. Okay, a hard chair. Okay, from here, let's move this so you can see it a wee bit better. I'm going to go side on. All I'm going to be doing here, everyone, is pretty much exactly what I've done with the foam roller, but now I'm using a small ball that's going to get right in the depth, okay? So I want you to remember those areas of high pain you encountered, sit on the ball, okay? And then simple, just try to locate that area of high pain that you found on the foam roller, zone in on it, okay? Zone in on it, try to find the source where the pain really feels its worst. Okay, and then from this position, depending on how high your chair is, okay, if mine was a couple of inches higher, I'd be able to bend my leg freely, but I can't do that, so I get about this range. But what we can do, okay, is just again, all I'm trying to do is just simply smash out that area of high pain. Get on it, scrub it side to side, up and down. Just imagining it's someone's elbow. And not only that, but push down on it. You're trying to apply as much force. Okay, so I'm sat down, I want to try and push down into that ball so that ball goes even deeper into my hamstrings, and that feels nasty. Okay, that feels real nasty. So side to side while I'm pushing down, up and down, just trying to break up that knotted up tissue. Okay, and then the beauty of being sat down now is, as I pin that area of high pain into the ball, I can start extending and bending my leg, okay? And what that's going to do is lengthen and shorten the muscle tissue. You can scrub as you go, okay? You do this off of feel. It's not a case of just copying me, okay? You lift the leg and you bend the leg because you feel like it's helping, okay? It's helping take this to another level. If you're not quite getting that, what I recommend you do, especially if you're sitting in a lower chair like I am, you can simply lean forwards, okay? Keep scrubbing. By leaning forwards, you're going to be lengthening out those hamstrings. It might let you get in a bit deeper, but also just by simply rocking back and forwards while you're pinning that area of high pain, scrubbing it, that's going to help, okay? That helps take it up a notch. So remember, we're not here to have a good time and chill out and focus on a nice chilled massage. This is us trying to address problems, okay? And the more you put in, the more you're definitely going to get out. And when it comes to the hamstrings, it couldn't be all the more relevant, okay? Like I said, these are big, thick, powerful, dense muscles. If you're not really going for it and scrubbing the hell out of them, you're really not going to be getting much out of this morning, okay? So please, I urge you, try to endure as much pain as you can handle while staying relaxed. And as always, pain is a difficult one. Make sure you're being sensible, okay? Where do I feel pain? I feel pain where the ball's pushing in on the muscle tissue that I'm crushing. Feels uncomfortable, okay? Feels almost like toothache in some form. That's the kind of pain I would expect, okay? So that's a disclaimer to you. Don't go enduring pain that doesn't feel right, okay? We know what we're kind of expecting to feel here. And while it can be pretty damn awful, it's what we expect. So we're grinding that muscle tissue up. We're spending quality time on it, okay? Time is still not of the essence though, so you need to be giving this your all. Like I said, if you're doing it properly, it's probably pretty horrible. So work your way up through. If you've got multiple areas of high pain, or just the whole hamstring itself feels like it needs work, work on it, get it done, because that's what we're doing this morning. Hamstrings are a big limiting factor in your ability to be able to push those hips back while keeping that chest nice and proud and keeping that spine neutral. Big factor, but not always the only factor. Many people say, and are quick to say, I've got tight hamstrings, but as you might experience this morning, when we start working through the other areas, it's not always the hamstrings that are at fault, but we're starting on them first, because it's a big area, it's a dense area, and we're going to invest a bit of time to make sure we're making the most out of it. So keep working your way up, okay? Keep spending time. We're not rushing through these problem areas. You're staying in that problem area until you feel an improvement, and an improvement is simple. It's not a case of the pain disappears. Great if it does, but you can suddenly start putting a lot more weight on that ball, keeping the muscle tissue relaxed while scrubbing it than you could when you started. That's an improvement, okay? So while I want you to try and get through the full area of the hamstrings, that's why we're spending quality time on it this morning. Don't rush, okay? Don't rush. It's better to focus your time on one area, make an improvement on that area, than try to work on multiple areas at once and not put in enough time to make a difference. Because as I say, every time we do this, you can always come back to it. You can always throw random 2 minutes here and there in every day. Again, once again, you could be doing a lot of work right now. You could be sat working at a desk. There's no reason why you couldn't have the hamstring getting a good smashing while you're sat there, okay? And you don't need to always just scrub. You could just simply find that area of high pain, push down into it, apply force, and crack on, okay? Good work, everybody, good work. So pretty nasty. For many, I'm sure. But the best piece of advice I'll give you once again when we're dealing with these hamstrings is you have to be brutal, okay? You just have to be brutal with yourself. Otherwise, you will not make a difference. Big steel cables running up the back of your legs. They're going to need some serious force and a serious good bit of smashing to make a difference. Right, okay, start thinking about finishing up there. And the reason I'm saying start thinking about finishing up there is, once again, you can just hit that pause button and spend more time on it if you want, but I recommend you move on. I recommend you move on, you learn about all the different muscle groups, and then you add the problem areas that are prominent to you in and around your day. Random, 2 minutes each side. And again, if you spend any time sat down, okay, we're doing things, you can still be productive. Even if you're sat doing hee-haw, you can still sit there and be productive with your mobility. This thing could be jammed in to a tight spot on your hamstrings while you're driving, okay? Maybe I don't recommend that, but hey up, right? I'd be lying if I said I didn't do it. Right, we're going to change legs. So we're going back to the foam roller now. That leg's put to one side. Now we're on to the left or the right, depending on what one you started on. So I'm starting again, just above the knee joint. And all I'm going to do is just go side to side, trying to just grind that muscle tissue in to the foam roller, but keeping it relaxed, okay? So as you're going side to side, you should just feel like the muscles just sinking into the foam roller, okay? Almost like you're putting it on an ironing board. Kinda, maybe. Good. Until you start to feel, right, okay, so there we go. That's starting to feel a wee bit tender. If I keep going up, is it getting worse? Oh, yes it is. Right, I'm gonna keep going until I find what feels like the worst part, the source of that pain. Okay, it's in and around here somewhere. So I'm just gonna scrub side to side to get in a bit deeper and try and find exactly where it's coming from. It feels about there. So now I'm gonna push down hard in there. Apply as much force as I can while keeping that muscle tissue relaxed. Focus on my breathing, trying to keep myself relaxed, take my mind off the discomfort and pain. Once I feel I've got a good bit of weight and force, that's when I can really start scrubbing. That's when the scrubbing becomes effective, and that's why I always encourage you, try to establish that relaxed state with a great amount of force before you start your scrubbing, okay? Because you're going to be scrubbing a lot harder, therefore getting a lot more out of it. So side to side, up and down, staying on that problem area. Time is of the essence. We do not have time to fart about. You don't have time to focus on those areas of low pain or areas that feel all right, or going for it. So the hamstrings can take a fair bit of work. Big area to cover. So keep at them, okay? If you're feeling this morning like there's a lot of problems within your hamstrings, again, you might not have known about it. You probably didn't until you start poking about in them. But it's not enough just to stretch, okay? It's not enough just to stretch out the hamstrings and hope that things are going to improve. We need to get the muscles themselves functioning properly, and that's what we're doing now. That's what we're trying to achieve now, should I say. We're trying to fix the little problem areas within the muscle group before we stretch them out and work on more flexibility. Because you can stretch all you want. If there's problems with the actual muscle themselves, you're only going to get so far. So we're pushing down. Working your way up, using this chance to just work a greater surface area than if you were using the ball, and just getting to know your hamstrings, okay? Make a mental note of where those big problem areas are, so that in a couple of minutes we can start getting the ball into them. And we don't need to waste time searching for them. We already know roughly where we need to go. So a lot of people usually find down closer towards the knee joint, you'll find plenty of pressure spots, but then also higher up. See, as you get closer to the glutes, higher up into the hamstrings, tend to find a lot of people have a lot of pain in there. Everybody's different, okay? But for the most part, that's where a lot of people get the tightness and get a lot of knotted up tissue. And if you've never done this before, or you haven't done it regular, that's where you'll find you've got a lot of work to do. It's like your car, okay? Here's a crazy one coming at you now. It might work, it might not, but brace yourself. You've got your car, you've not washed it for 9 months. All through the winter, it's absolutely hoaching. You finally go to wash that car. It takes you hours, it takes you possibly all day to get that car up to a standard that you're happy with if you're a perfectionist like me. And then after it, you say, God, if I'd kept on top of that, it would have taken me quarter of the time. So see, from now on, I'm going to wash it regular. Yep. Same with this stuff, okay? Keep on top of it, little and often, your job's easy. It's easy to maintain a high standard. Forget about it, don't do it, or never done it before, like now. You're going to have to invest a lot of time to get it up to standard. But when it's at standard, it's not a case of that shoe, you've achieved it. You must stay on top of it. And that's why I always say to you, little and often. So yeah, that one worked. That one worked, didn't it? Good. Sometimes those little analogies work, sometimes they don't. So wash your car, regular. Get a wee hose down every weekend. Don't wait 9 months. I'm talking from recent experience when I washed my van. It took me 6 hours. 6 hours. I had to wash it twice just to get the dirt off it. Good. Maybe I've got too much time on my hands, eh? Or maybe I don't, and that's why it ended up taking so long in the end. Right, okay, we're going to move on to the ball. Again, you can hit pause and spend more time on it if you want, but if you've never done this before, or it's the first time you're catching this, do the whole video, learn about it, learn about your problem areas, and then develop your own little routine if you need to, where you're working on the areas that you're really feeling problems with. So I'm sat on the ball, okay? I've got the ball, I'm sitting on it, hard surface, pushing against it. move the ball around with your hand, okay? A lot of the time people end up shifting all over the place and they're hanging off the back of your chair about to fall. You can stay in the same position. If you find a good position on that chair, whatever you're sat on, move the ball around with your hand, right? Push in there, right? That's not quite it. Oh, right, that feels tender, but am I right on that spot? Don't know yet. That feels worse. That doesn't feel quite so bad. Go back. Right, that feels like the worst spot, so I'm going to start there. So, isolated spot, push down hard, okay? And all I'm going to do is just start pushing down into it, trying to get as much weight. So push that leg down, okay? And once again, don't overcomplicate this. So easy to overcomplicate this. You don't need to know the name of the muscle group you're on. You don't need to, there's no specific spot you need to be on. If there's muscle tissue there and you're finding pain and discomfort within that muscle tissue, technique's the same, okay? It's just certain areas we can do slightly different adaptations. Okay, so in this position we do have the luxury of being able to bend and extend the knee. Whether that works for you, it really depends on how high your chair is. But if not, the best way to do it in this instance, just simply lean forwards into the leg and lean back, and you'll find that that alone, while pinning that area of high pain, really does help. Just be cautious of any nerve, kind of pain, not nerve pain, but any nerve sensation, okay? Any pins and needles, any toe starts jumping, because we are working around the sciatic nerve. But again, I would like to think if you start pushing the ball onto an area and you're feeling pins and needles or a weird sensation, you wouldn't keep pursuing that area. So a bit of common sense, please. And remember, you really need to be going for this, everybody. So please, keep on top of it. Keep trying to just get in it, get stuck in, spend quality time, and get it done. So keep going, we're nearly there. There's many different variations we can do of what we're doing now, okay? It's hard, it's difficult. Like when you go for a massage, if you're going for a proper one, of course, people can inflict more pain than you can. It's hard for you to inflict a level of pain on yourself, okay? It's very hard. When you're in control of it, your brain's going to be fighting and say, what are you doing, man? No, we're not pushing down. You're having a laugh. We're hurting myself. It's very difficult. That's what I mean by this. It's hard. That's why sometimes it's better that every so often you go and you get someone to do it for you. But in terms of this, okay, what you can do, if you've got, I'm sure plenty of us have people in my life that's willing to inflict pain upon us, but in a nice way. What you can do, simply see with the likes of this, and again, don't overcomplicate it. Think about what we're doing, okay? All you need to do is you could be lying on your back and you can get someone to use their foot to stand into your hamstrings, and just same idea, okay? We can do that with the quads, we can do it anywhere, okay? You get my point. It's difficult. If you find that there's an area that you really need work on and you're really struggling to manage it yourself, there's many ways you can go about it, okay? You can go and get a professional to work on that area. Or, quite simply, if you just feel you're not quite getting enough and you can't quite handle enough by yourself, again, you can simply lie down, get someone to use their foot, someone to use their elbow, okay? And that way you can try and just focus on just taking it, okay, without relaxing off of it too much. Because like I say, it's hard. It's very hard if there's a lot of work needing done here and you're feeling a lot of high pain and you're struggling to inflict that upon yourself. It's difficult, okay? It's very difficult to make an improvement. Right, I want you to grab your thickest resistance band that you can find, or if you don't have one, grab yourself a towel, a long bath towel, okay? Because we're going to stretch these bad boys out now. Get your band around the ball of your foot here, okay? Get the band around the ball of your foot, not the toes because I want it secure, and not the midfoot or heel because I want this band, and the purpose of this band is to pull the toes towards my knee, and that'll help. Before you even go down into it, when you do it, you'll feel that you're lengthening out the calves. So as a result, we're lengthening out and pulling on the hamstrings. So it's going to let us get a better stretch quicker on. Now, if you've never done this one before, watch me before you get into it. If you're happy with it, obviously go straight into it, but watch. Okay, I'm lying back. Don't just lie back and go, bosh, right, there we go. Ha, hell of a stretch. Get it off a little bit, okay? Ease off the stretch and get a good setup. So what I want to be doing is get my shoulder blades pulled together, chest proud, and I want to be relaxed, okay? Sure, if you've got a thick band like mine, your arms are going to start getting tired, but that's the part we just suck up. But the rest of our body, we want to be chilled. So now I've got a good position. I'm going to make sure I've got plenty of tension on that band, so I'm going to pull down hard, okay? Then from here, keeping my opposite leg just dead weight on the ground, knee fully extended. The leg that I'm stretching out, I'm just going to start moving back, okay? As I pull that foot down, I'm going to start moving it back, keeping the knee locked out until I feel a hell of a stretch running down my hamstrings. From here, I need to focus on relaxing. So I want to make sure that the foot is getting pulled towards me, as in I'm not fighting. I don't want to fight that resistance band. I want to be relaxed. Make sure you don't bend your knee. And from here, it's a simple matter of, with our static stretches, we're trying to get better. So we take it further. We hold it at that area that's uncomfortable. We try to achieve a relaxed state, as in we can handle it, and then we take it further. You must keep trying to take it further and further and further in order to get better. And with that comes a decent level of discomfort. Certainly no pain when it comes to stretching, but discomfort, okay? We're really trying to go for it. We're trying to take our muscle to its end range, teach our brain that it's okay to just go a little bit further, because our brain's fighting it. It's contracting up the muscle here, stretching it out so that we don't dislocate a joint, etc., or damage ourselves, which would happen if we did take it to the extreme. But because we're not in the habit, or you're not in the habit of using your muscles to these end ranges of movement, your brain's switched off a little bit. It's backed off. It thinks it doesn't realise there's so much range left to play with before damage would incur. So we're trying to just persuade it ever so slightly. Taking it further, never easing off, never bouncing. It's just one constant argument with our brain, and we are winning the argument by going further and further, and we're not backing off. If you back off, if you shake out, if you bounce it, you're losing the argument. Simple as that. Stay relaxed, take it further. Stay relaxed, take it further. Keep the legs straight. At this point now, you should feel that you can't really go any further. You're pretty damn close to giving this your all, and if you go any further, you're not going to be able to stay relaxed anymore. You're going to start shaking. So if you are shaking, you've gone too far. You're not relaxed. Good. Good. And slowly relax out of that one and change legs. So straight away, if you're getting your leg roughly to 90 degrees, roughly, pretty close to 90 degrees, your hamstrings have decent range in them, okay? They have pretty good range, and if you're able to achieve 90 degrees, you probably don't have any trouble touching the ground with your fingertips as you push your hips back and keep your spine nice and straight. You probably don't, okay? But it's also a lesson, because I hear it quite often, oh, I've got tight hamstrings, based on nothing other than someone's just thinking they've got tight hamstrings because they struggle to touch the floor. Quite often or not, it's not always the hamstring. So if you're doing this right now, okay, you establish a position and you manage to get the leg roughly, like I'm showing you, pretty close to 90 degrees, then you've got decent hamstring flexibility, okay? So your hamstring's probably only the problem, and that's why I would urge you to keep watching the rest of the video and keep following along, because it might be a wee bit further up. Or it might just be bad movement mechanics. That's another thing. As a beginner, if you are indeed a beginner when it comes to exercise, or maybe weightlifting or kettlebells, working on that hip hinge, if it's new to you, quite often it can just be a simple matter of you don't have the correct movement mechanics yet. And what I mean by that is you don't quite understand the movement, you haven't been doing it long enough, or you've been doing it for so long incorrectly, okay? So we just need to make sure that you're moving correctly, you've got the right technique, the right form. So keep practicing. That's another important factor. It's not always mobility and flexibility. Sometimes you can see that people are fairly mobile, fairly flexible. They just don't really understand what they're trying to do. Their brain hasn't quite worked it out yet. And with a bit of practice and actually reading and understanding the key points on exercises, you'll start to move better and hold good form. But for the most part, we could all do with a good overhaul and flexibility and mobility, especially if you're just starting out, or you're just starting out taking it serious. Taking it further, remember, taking it further, taking it further. It's not a static hold in the one position. We're trying to develop. We're not trying to maintain our current flexibility, we're trying to develop it. So that involves going further and taking it to that point where we're fighting with the brain. The brain's trying to stop, but we're trying to go. But all the time, just trying your best to stay as relaxed as you can, which is hard when you've got that level of discomfort to contend with, but we try all the more anyway. Good. So we've spent a good bit of quality time, pretty much 2/3 of this class on your hamstring area, okay? It's a big area. It takes time to get stuck into it effectively. I want to show you how to do that, but you can now do that little and often if you like, okay? 2 minutes each side before you go to bed, when you get up, before you go to the shower, whatever you've got a chance to just quickly get that foam roller out, this band out, that's when you do it, okay? It doesn't always have to be that hour-long mobility class. Relax there, everybody. Chuck the band off. We have no time to waste. I want you to get the ball now, okay? We're moving further up. We're going to start working on the glutes, okay? Your butt cheeks, the glutes. Simple way to look at it, okay? Like I say, you might be struggling in that range of movement of pushing your hips back, that hip hinge movement that we would need for a deadlift or kettlebell swing. You might struggle with that in terms of things are feeling tight, but you've just showed yourself that your hamstrings aren't actually that bad. We can go further up, okay? If we've got a lot of jammed up tissue in our glutes, which most people do, okay? Especially if you're exercising regularly, can't even say it, and working them hard, okay? You'll find right now there's gonna be a lot of problem areas within your glutes to work on, okay? So all I want you to do is sit on the ball, okay? Sit on the ball, on the center of what you would imagine is your butt cheek. Sit on it with a decent bit of weight, but trying to keep that muscle tissue relaxed. Now, all I'm gonna do is just start at a center point and start creating little circles as I start to spiral out towards the perimeter of my glutes, but little circles, okay? We're spiraling out. When you hit a point that feels pretty damn nasty, which might be pretty soon, we stop, okay? We have a little scrub, a little move around the area. Right, that seems like the worst spot, that's where it's coming from. So now I'm going to start pushing down hard into it. Now remember, we do not have time to fart about. You get stuck into it. You try and sit on that ball with as much weight as you can and just start scrubbing as soon as you find an area of high pain, okay? What position you need to be in, you can see that I'm kind of sat like this. It doesn't matter. Ultimately, it does not matter. Depending on where you are on your glutes, you could even drop to the elbow, okay? But it's about you getting into the best position that lets you really feel like you're getting stuck in, okay? So go on the hunt for an area of high pain within your butt cheeks. It's as simple as that. We must stay relaxed. It can be hard to stay relaxed because we can get a lot of real problem areas. But remember, force, pressure, that's the first protocol. We want to feel like that ball sinks in. It's not just sitting on the surface because my butt cheeks, my glutes are tense. I want to relax, which is hard, especially if you're encountering pain. So going back to what I was saying, hamstrings feel all right, but you're still struggling. If your glutes are jammed up tight, okay, that's going to be pulling on those hamstrings. It's going to be pulling on that lower back too, if there's tightness there. And it's going to really affect how you move in that hip hinge movement that we need for deadlifts, kettlebell swings, or just simply for you to be able to touch your toes. So we need to smash that tissue, restore those sliding surfaces to the muscle tissue, and get them functioning better again. Free up some slack if you like. We're going for it, okay? Again, you're not concerning yourself with anything other than an area of high pain that makes you feel like you're going to jump if you put too much weight on it. You find it, you work it, okay? And in this position, we can smash and floss it by moving the leg around. If you know how to swim, breaststroke legs in and out, up, in and out. If you don't know how to swim, just shake that leg about, okay? Like you're doing the okey cokey. Okey cokey. While you're pinning that area of high pain. Yes, yes, good. So we're really trying to break up that stubborn muscle tissue. Remember that. We're trying to break up that muscle tissue, that knotted up, thick, dense material. That's why we need so much pressure and force. That's why it's a matter of trying to endure the pain, try not to focus on it and just go for it. It's not easy, I know, but if you're just kind of sitting on the ball, wincing out and on, and not really going for it, it feels quite nice, okay? It's not enough. It's not enough. It'll feel nice, and that's nothing. It's not doing us any good, really, other than making us feel good at the moment. So you go for it, get stuck in. You're going as wide as you can, okay? Now, I know where my problem areas are. I'm kind of focusing on them, but you can go right out onto the hip joint itself, in and around those areas too. Get stuck in and look for those areas of high pain. I'm pretty sure everybody will find plenty, okay? But make sure you're searching the entire area. And we're still on the one side. We're doing one glute at a time here. Again, there's no right or wrong with what to do. Experiment. You find a painful area, move around within it, see if you can get stuck into it at a better angle, and just keep going for it. So look at this. Again, this is another one of these easy ones. It's not exactly, no setup required. You're just sitting on the ball, grinding through the muscle tissue. It's pretty simple, it's pretty basic. It should never really feel like a hassle to do your mobility work. And it still will. It still will for some people, and that's fine. But teach yourself, teach your brain that it's not a hassle. Start doing it every little and so often. Keep the ball, keep the band, keep the foam roller somewhere where it's constantly staring at you in the face. Don't put it in the cupboard. You put it in the cupboard, it's going to get forgotten about. You set it out somewhere, or even the little ball, just get in the habit of taking it around with you, somewhere where it's always guilt tripping you into using it. And that's what works for me. I leave the foam roller in the gym, but always take the little ball home. Always have it sitting out, always have it sitting somewhere where I can see it and I remember to use it. Change sides, just in case you hadn't noticed. I do apologise, I didn't say. So yeah, we've all got a lot going on. We've all got busy lives, other things, other priorities, other commitments. But make this one of them. Don't forget about it, because it's so easy to. And sure as fate, just like any habit that you're trying to develop, it won't become a habit until you do it often enough. So it will take you a thought. It will take you putting a post-it note, sticking it somewhere to your desk, I don't know, to remind you to do your mobility work. It will take you doing it a few days on the trot, and then eventually it'll become a habit, and you don't even think about it anymore because you know you're going to be doing it. You'll suddenly feel like you've missed something out. Right, I'm getting into my bed. I'm sure I've forgotten to do something. Of course, mobility, okay? It doesn't even become a case of forgetting. Little and often, it'll become a habit. But like I say, when it comes to this stuff, it's not the most exciting thing in the world. But the biggest motivator behind it, for me personally, well, the biggest, is injury prevention. And the fact that it's allowing my body to perform so much better and so much more effectively than it would if I didn't do any of this stuff. And even at that, I know there's a lot more I could do. There's always more I could do. But most of us prioritise exercise, prioritise that hardship feeling of getting a sweat on, lungs burning, over doing any of this stuff. But in actual fact, it's this stuff that's going to allow you to keep doing that very thing that you need or enjoy for a lot longer and a lot more effectively. Right, we're done on that. Okay, we've smashed those glutes. Now I want you to grab a bench, a chair, or if you're in your living room, simply flip around so that you can elevate your feet up on your sofa, and I'll show you exactly what I mean now. We're moving higher up, okay? So you can see we started on the hamstrings, we're on the glutes. Now we're going to go into the high glutes, okay? Right up at the pelvis. I want you to grab an elevated platform purely because, don't do it yet unless you know what you're doing. All I'm doing here, so it's just to allow you to get set up, is raising my feet up so that I can get more weight down to the ball. But ultimately, the most important factor here is your spine. Okay, we're going to be putting this ball underneath us. I don't want to start overextending my spine. And what I mean by overextending is if you feel your spine starting to curve at the bottom and you can get your hand underneath that curve, that's what I mean by overextending. We don't want to be doing that. Okay, so this helps minimize it. But what we're going to be doing now, so you know the right area to go on, I'm going to do my best to show you. So we've worked the actual glutes, the meatiest part of the glutes themselves. We're going higher up, okay? And if you have a feel around the pelvis, okay, I want you to get to know your pelvis. You can feel the crest of that pelvis running up here, running down, running down, running down, running down to the base of your spine, okay? You might not be able to feel it with your fingers, but when you lie on the ball, you'll most certainly feel it. So I want you to know what you're looking for. What we're trying to do with the ball when we're lying on it is have it on the underside of the crest. So the crest of the pelvis is running up here. I want to be on the underside of it, okay, the glute side of it. When you're lying on it, okay, I want you to start with it just off to the side of your spine and then simply work along up here, grinding along, and you should feel yourself hitting that pelvis. You should feel yourself hitting that bone, okay? That's the area that I want to be working on right along, all the way out, crest of the pelvis, we're following along until we get to the outer hip, okay? That's the area that I want you to work on. Simple as that. When we move on, and when I tell you to move on to the lower back, it's exactly the same, okay? Because we're just going to let this blend. I'm not going to show you again, so please pay attention. All I'm going to do is it's the same setup, except now I go on top of the crest of the pelvis. So before I was on the underside, now I'm on top, and I'm working that lower back. But again, I'm going to follow it along, all the way along the top of the pelvis itself, okay? So for the high glutes, we're underneath. For the lower back, we're on top. Exactly the same, okay? Technique involved. So to set up, elevate the feet again. Beauty of it is if you're in your living room, sofa. If you're not, get a chair, coffee table, whatever. Bench if you're in the gym. Get the ball. Simple. Use the hand to move the ball around. Don't wriggle about in a bad position. You're in a good position here. Use the hand to move the ball along the crest of the pelvis. But to get started, okay, now what we need to remember is we're close to the bone here. It's not so dense an area because we're close to the bone. So you're going to feel that bone, okay, and that's fine. But what we want to make sure is we've got muscle tissue between the ball and the bone, sandwiched, okay? The muscle tissue is the sandwich filler. One bit of the bread's the ball, the other bit of bread's the bone. And we're just grinding in between the two, okay? And all I'm doing is making sure I'm not on my spine. Now remember what I said about that lower back. Make sure we're not overextending it, and you can simply do that by making sure your pelvis is just lifted up ever so slightly and by keeping a bit of tension on the core itself. So if you roll up, if you try to roll the ball up, you should hit the pelvis, you should hit that bone. That's how kind of close we want to be. So all I'm doing here is smashing, simple terms, just smashing that muscle tissue with the ball, okay? And then when I've smashed a little bit, get your hand under there and move it an inch or two out as we start to work along the underside of that crest of the pelvis, looking for areas of high pain, okay? Staying in the vicinity of the pelvis, but feel free to venture a little bit further down, but don't start getting onto the bit where you feel like you're on the true meaty part of your glutes. Now, as you start to get, this is where you might help if you can see me, but you don't really need to, I could talk you through it. As you start to get to the outer hip, you're gonna have to start, so when we're first in the center, you can just be square on. You're gonna have to start kind of leaning off to the side. You're gonna have to start leaning off to the side to get onto the outer hip, okay? You can see that this leg's starting to twist. That's the point I'm making. You're gonna really struggle to get onto those outer glutes if you're not rotating your body around onto it, okay? So there we are, well, just simple. It's not rocket science, just looking for areas of high pain. And this is where if you're getting lots of areas of high pain, you really need to be working this area more. Try to push down into that foam roller as hard as you can, the ball. And another technique is, again, it would help if you can see, but it doesn't matter if you can't. The side that you're smashing, you can lift that leg up and start moving it around, okay? You can start moving it around, that might help. You might get more weight on it, especially see if you lift the leg directly above the ball, okay? Put the leg straight. You're obviously then going to get more weight down into the ball and help take it to another level when you smash the hell out of it, okay? But again, it's not pretty. It's not meant to be. Get stuck into it and make the most of it. So again, by doing this video, you might now realise that your glutes need a bit of work. If you feel your lower back's pretty tight, you probably found that this one that we're on right now is a lot of problem areas, a lot of knotted up tissue, especially in the glutes, hamstrings. That's where a lot of lower back tightness stems from. So this class this morning is going to be a good one if you are dealing with lower back pain or tightness or discomfort. It's only going to benefit it. And you might just find that you find some relief from doing either the whole class or certain movements within the class, which is again what it's all about. Right, we're going to change sides. Okay, so we're still on the high glutes, but now I'm going to change sides, everybody. So, get the ball, other arm, on the other side. And again, it'll just take you a few wee wiggles around, moving the ball to find the right spot, okay? But when you're pretty close to the side, when you're just off the side of your tailbone, pretty high up in the pelvis, okay? Bone's pretty damn close. Not a great deal of muscle tissue, but there's still muscle tissue there. So it will almost feel like a dull pain, not a lot of dense tissue, but still work to be done. Okay, just stay off the spine itself. Oh my word. And again, don't rush this when you're looking for that area of high pain and you're looking to make a difference to it. And if things are that bad, spend time on it, honestly. If you really feel that you're on an area that feels awful, don't rush over it just in order to try and get the whole area done. Focus on trying to make an improvement on that area and then come back to it later in your own time. But remember, try moving your leg around. It might just open things up a little bit more in whatever area you're on, it might, and therefore help things. So for the posterior chain, for this class this morning, we're not going to be doing very much flexibility work. In fact, the only flexibility work we'll be doing, and we've done already, is that banded hamstring stretch. That's the only flexibility work we're doing. Why? Because like I say, for most people, it takes more than stretching. If you're struggling to get in that position, we need to restore the normal function of these muscles and address the muscle tissue itself by smashing the hell out of it, okay? Big, thick, powerful, dense muscles, they're going to take some work. Stretching isn't going to be the answer. You'll see an improvement just by stretching, sure, but to really restore normality, especially if it's been a number of years, it's going to take time. It's going to take a bit of pain and discomfort. It's going to take a lot more than just simply stretching. So we're going for it, okay? So this class is smaller, we're going to be doing a lot of this. Of course, there are key stretches and stuff we can do to help the posterior chain. However, we're not going to be doing them on this class this morning because I would rather prioritise the one thing that many people aren't familiar with and the one thing that I think most people are going to need, especially beginners, okay? So the stretches in terms of getting the glutes stretched out, getting the groin stretched out, getting the lower back stretched out, that's all stuff we do regular. We do that very regular on the normal mobility overhaul classes that's on live. So you'll get in the routine of doing all these basic stretches pretty damn soon. But for now, we're going for the intensive overhaul. that's needed, doing the stuff that you might not know anything about, and the stuff that's really going to take you to a good place a lot quicker. Right, okay, now remember, off that side, we're going back to the other side, but now we're going to be doing the lower back, okay? So it's exactly the same technique, exactly the same start point and finish point, starting from just to the side of the tailbone out to the outer hip, but this time we're at the lower back area, which is us going to on top of the pelvis. So exactly the same, but we're going above it. So easiest thing to do is get your hand under there and just lie in the ball, off and on. Right, there's my pelvis, there's the bone he's talking about. You'll feel yourself hitting that bone right towards the surface, okay? And I want to be just above it. Where you'll find yourself starting when you're just off to the side of the spine is those big, thick, rope-like muscles that run up the side of your spine. Those muscles that you feel like are the ones that, see when a lot of people pull the lower back out, we've all pulled the lower back out, let's be honest. I'm pretty sure everybody's pulled the lower back out at some point in their life. It's usually that's the area we start reaching behind and sticking my thumbs into, and it feels like the problem area. Now, when you're lying on these with this ball, the quadriceps lumboris muscles, those QL muscles as we refer to them in that lower back, they are very thick and very dense, and for a lot of people, very stiff. And as a result, see when you lie on them, it can almost feel like you can't penetrate. It's almost like a bone, pop, pop, as the ball goes side to side. I urge you now, keep smashing them. So I'm on them now, and I'm just simply rocking side to side with a bit up and down. And as I do that, I'm getting more weight on, and they're slowly starting to relax a wee bit. So now, when I was first lying on them, didn't feel much pain, didn't feel much discomfort. It just felt like a solid mass. But now that I've started scrubbing, I'm getting more weight on them. Now they're starting to relax a bit. And now I'm starting to feel that they do need a bit of work. I'm starting to feel a little bit of tender muscle tissue in there. So let that be a lesson to you. Not everything is as it seems on first appearance, especially with these big, thick, powerful muscle groups, okay? Especially with the lower back. So if you're feeling that your lower back is pretty stiff and pretty tight, smash the hell out of it, especially those QL muscles, okay? If you want to spend more time on them right now, that's fine. But I would urge you that most people are probably going to need more time than what we're giving you in this class. So do this class. When the class ends, keep it going, or come back to it later and work on these lower back muscles also. When it comes to what we're doing this morning, when we're talking about the deadlift, the hip hinge range of movement, quite often or not, most people have a weak lower back and a very stiff lower back. So we need to focus on strengthening that lower back up, but also restoring the range of movement to the lower back. And that's exactly what we've kind of done this morning. Not so much strengthening it, but we're working around the muscle tissue. We're not just working on the problem area, we're working on the areas above, to the side, up and down of it, trying to restore suppleness to the entirety, here we go with these words I can't pronounce, to the entire area around what might be your problem area, okay? So if you've got a lot of tightness in your lower back, us spending time on the high glutes there, us spending time on the glutes and hamstrings, restoring suppleness to that, that's going to feed upstream into the lower back and take a lot of stress and pressure off. Okay, we're going to think about changing sides now, but again, you can spend as long as you want on it. We've just got a time to stick to with these videos. So I'm on to the other side. Again, it takes a wee bit of up and down, lying on it, off and on to find the exact point you want to start on. Right, there's the pelvis. I want to be literally just above it. And I'm just going to start, right, there's those QL muscles he's talking about. I can feel the ball just kind of pinging off and on of them because they feel solid. So I'm just going to do what he said, side to side, up and down, side to side, up and down, just trying to get stuck in and manipulate them. And then eventually you might just find that you start actually getting in amongst them and you feel, yep, okay, there is a wee bit of discomfort and pain in there that needs work, but at first instance they were just so dense and so stiff, I couldn't quite get in there. Very important, everybody. This hip hinge, this deadlift range of movement, being able to push our hips back and touch our toes, it's very important, okay, in and out of the gym. Whether you realise it or not, we pick stuff up daily. If you're lacking the end range to be able to keep your spine neutral and tight while you're picking something up off the floor, if you lack that range and you still continue down towards the floor, which most of us do, you're going to start arching your back. You're going to start bending the spine to make up for that lack of range in these muscle groups. So then when you're lifting, your vertebrae are opened up. They're not all locked in nice and tight. They're not supported. So, yep, you might be fine. You might be absolutely fine with bad form, picking things up. But that, let me tell you, is because your body is very resilient. We all have very resilient bodies that can deal with bad movement patterns, errors, that can deal with it day in, day out. But over time, eventually, your body is just going to hang the gloves up and say, nah, this ain't working for me anymore. And that's when you're going to feel that hot iron, boom, as you feel your lower back getting pulled out, or another area for that matter. I refer to the lower back because it's common, but my point being is, just because you're not getting a problem yet doesn't mean to say you're doing things correctly. Your body will allow you to do it for so long until eventually one day the wear and tear is just too great on it that it will give up on you. So it's important, it's probably one of the most important areas that we need to work on. And when I'm working with people one-on-one in here, the deadlift's one of the last things we do, okay? Because for that reason, a lot of people lack the range to be able to lift things effectively off the ground. And if you continue to do it with bad form, you're going to hurt yourself. And that's why we hear so many people going, oh, I'm not doing the deadlift, or I'm not doing the kettlebell swings, that always hurt my back, they're bad for my back. Okay, and that's what I simply say to you. They're not bad for you. You'll lack a range, you'll lack a mobility and flexibility, you'll lack a technique. That's what's bad for you. Nothing to do with the exercises themselves, okay? So address the problems. No one likes to be told they've got a weakness. No one likes to be told there's something needing fixed, it's not working properly. But with this stuff, quite often or not, the solution's in your hands. It's just we pay lip service to it because we don't want to invest that time because it seems like too much hassle or unnecessary hassle. So that's my lesson to you as we summarise this morning's class. And as always, with these intensive videos that were thrown out just now to get you up to standard, it's not a lower back class. There's so much we could do for your lower back, but we pick up on these things on the regular mobility overhaul classes, okay? There are certain other movements we could do to benefit your posterior chain movement, to benefit your hip hinge deadlift movement. But what we've worked on this morning is the most common and the biggest areas that usually cause people problems. Everybody's different, but if you keep on these classes, we will be picking up all the areas anyway. We're getting there. So far, we've done the squat, we've done the overhead press, we've done the deadlift slash hip hinge. We've still got the likes of bench press slash press to get done, which will be picking up a lot of the upper body stuff that we missed out on the overhead press. So my point is, we will be getting through everything, okay? There might be things that we missed out of this class that would maybe benefit your posterior chain and your problems, but rest assured, we're going to get to them. Keep hitting it hard. As always, extract out of these classes that we're doing, extract your problem areas, your own areas that you know now that you need work on that maybe you didn't realise before, and start throwing it in little and often. 2 minutes, my glutes were hellish, they felt so bad, I didn't even know about it, okay? Now I'm going to 2 minutes on each side of them tonight for this week, randomly, okay? Keep doing it, make it a habit, you're going to thank me in the long run. Not that I'm looking for thanks, but thank you very much, have a good day, and I'll see you next time.